Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, Force here, and today we're going to be taking a look at another Teran strategy video. The player that we're going to be focusing on today is Fnatic's Phoenix, and what we're looking at is a Teran versus Protoss strategy. Specifically in this game, we're going to take a look at a nice build. It's going to be the quick 3 Hellion Infernal Pre-Igniter drop, so the Blue Flame Hellions, very strong against those light units. The specific targets, of course, in this drop will be the workers, and then we're also going to be looking at scouting out and defending against a 4-gate push. So there's two things going into play here. Not only is Phoenix teching up very quickly to a relatively high-tech unit, the Infernal Pre-Igniter Hellion, getting that early on in the game, you know, it's a little bit dangerous. It sets you up in a vulnerable position because you don't have a lot of early game Marines and Marauders. So not only is that happening, but we're going to look at Phoenix scouting out the 4-gate, seeing the fact that it's coming, and then we'll be looking at how he defends it and still manages to push out to his opponent's base and do some damage. So first and foremost, of course, we're going to be taking a look at the build order. The very opening, very standard. You can also see scouting out with that SCV. I believe that was the SCV that finished the racks. He sent that out right away to scout out his opponent. So moving in the base, seeing pretty normal stuff. But let's go back here to the Teran player's base and talk about this opening build order. The opening build, like I mentioned, was standard with a 10 depot, 12 racks, 13 refinery. The Orbital Command came a little bit later at 17 supply. He just took the extra time to build that one extra SCV. Now let me slow it down a little bit, keeping a close eye on a couple things when you're in the Protoss player's base, the energy, and whether or not that Cybernex core is getting chrono boosted. So yes, 17 supply was that Orbital Command. After that, at 19 supply, we saw the factory come down. 21, if that's the factory, 21 supplies when we saw the second refinery. 20, I believe, 5 supply, basically once the factory finishes, dropping that tech lab right away, and then as soon as the tech lab finishes, you'll be at about 30 supply, making your first Hellion. That's when you'll start the Blue Flame and build the Starport. So we can see right here, SCV scout for Fnatic Phoenix, still chilling out. He wants to move in for secondary scouting. Back here inside of the main, we can see nothing but Marines. It's been a constant production of Marines, as well as a constant production of SCVs. So there we go, the factory is finished, building that first Hellion. Here comes the Blue Flame, still keeping up with that Marine production, and now it's time for the secondary scouting. Let's talk about this timing right now. We're looking at about 5:30, so let's pause momentarily. What should be happening for a Protoss opponent? Now we can see again the Hellions are coming out, the Blue Flame's coming, starting up that Starport, so we're well on track for that Blue Flame Hellion drop, and the early game defense, of course, as I mentioned, were just those Marines. But what is going to happen around 5:30? The Protoss opponent will be doing one of two things. They'll be close to whatever tech they're going, if they're going for like a 2 or 3 gate robo, or maybe they're opening with Void Rays. That'll be about the time that these things are getting close to finished, or at the very least building. Also, if a quick expand's coming out, we'll be looking at either, let's think about a 1-gate expand or a 3-gate expand. Those are pretty popular builds against Teran. That should be out about now. So we saw the SCV first moved into this position, checking the expansion, and then was walking up into the main. Let me just actually go back so we can see that happen. Come on, SCV. So we can see right now, checking the expansion right now. If there's an expansion there, you'd see it, and then walking up into the main. But we're at about 5:30. If you're going for a super fast 4-gate, right around 5:30 is when the 4-gate will finish. In fact, if we go into everyone vision, we can see, look at that. The Cybernex core just about finished, and we're also going to see he's got these 4 gateways. And actually, I didn't even realize this was actually a 5-gate that he ends up coming out with. But regardless, going for a strong early gateway push relatively early on, this is about the timing that it'll be. So again, we see the SCV scout kind of poking back and forth, and what is he looking for right now? He's looking for a few things. Remember, back at home, everything's going normal, keeping up that Hellion production. We got Marines and everything else. He's wanting to see what the units are, and if he's sentry heavier or anything like that. A sentry heavy build is going to, or even seeing a sentry at all, is going to tell you, you know, he's not going for a crazy early 4-gate. What a lot of times you'll see is the 4-gate with 1 gas, and that does not a lot for sentries. We can see right here, LGA-GH ended up going for the 1 gas 4-gate, and actually was a 5-gate, but he went for the 1 gas early game strong gateway aggression. And if that weren't the case, we would be seeing a sentry. So seeing a lack of sentry kind of tips us off as to, hey, something a little funny is going on. Now what he's looking for ideally was to see if those warp gates were coming in, but unfortunately he didn't manage to get up there in time. So, seeing a lack of sentry already a cause for concern that's going to make Phoenix be, at the very least, a little bit alert as to what's going on. We can see right now, first Hellion is out, second Hellion just about to finish. We'll be starting that medevac as soon as the Starport finishes and working on that third Hellion. Now, the whole goal in this particular build, this Blue Flame Hellion drop, is to get 3 Hellions in that medevac as fast as possible and then hit the econ of your opponent. At the same time, look at that. Knowing something fishy is going on, we see Phoenix move out with the SCV just to look for that aggression. He was moving around. He would have checked up here for proxy pylons, possibly checking over here as well, and then moving to grab the tower. But he didn't even need to do all that, because already seeing all of these stalkers, he realizes, okay, there's a problem. So immediately, first of all, bunker, very crucial in this build, and actually what happened was when he pushed up and he saw the lack of a sentry, that's when he immediately dropped this first bunker. Second, you see the push coming, you need to immediately pull down a bit of SCVs. I want to say anywhere between 4 and 6 is what you're going to need. You can see that nice little concave there with those 6 SCVs. Put them on auto repair. You can do that by selecting the SCVs and right-clicking on them, and that will let you, if the second or third push comes in while you're dropping, we can see that third Hellion has just finished. While this is happening, if an additional push comes, if you have these guys on auto repair as they are here, and again, just right-click on the repair, they'll automatically start repairing that bunker. So here we go, the drop inside of the main. Phoenix, of course, will be targeting down these probes, and look at how much damage these Blue Flame Hellions do. Obviously, right now, LGA GH is not able to defend himself because he's focused on this attack, but with those SCVs on auto repair, automatically started repairing that bunker while Phoenix was concentrated on roasting the econ, and there is just the GG. Too much loss there from that push. So a few key things. We took a look at that scouting. If you see a lack of sentry, if you see just zealots and stalkers, be concerned. Obviously, he didn't get to move all the way in to check for that second gas. But again, if you're just seeing zealots and stalkers, you could very well be looking at a strong gateway, either a 4 or 5 gate early game push. And also, if you're scouting at about 5:30, if he was going for a 1 gate or a 3 gate expand, you should be seeing that expansion build around then as well. Given the fact that he thought, without seeing any sentries, just seeing zealots and stalkers, that a strong gateway push might be coming, and he also had spotted the chrono boost on that Cybernex core earlier in the game, he immediately dropped that bunker. His second bunker came up when he spotted the army because he pushed out with that SCV scout, and remember, with that, after scouting that, realize that a 4 or 5 gate push will be coming around the 6-minute mark. The warp gate research finishes around 5:30, and usually they wait for a warp in or two. You want to check for proxy pylons, so look for any probable locations. Grabbing the tower certainly wouldn't be a bad idea as well. Then when the push does come, obviously fill up your bunker, bring down about 4 to 6 SCVs, have them on auto repair to repair that bunker, and then you can concentrate on your Blue Flame Hellion drop. Now, if there were no strong aggression in this game, the Blue Flame Hellion drop is still obviously a strong opening. Your opponent does not have to open up with a 4 or 5 gate for a Blue Flame Hellion drop to be effective. You just have to make sure that you're surprising your opponent, and this is done effectively by having this wall off with the bunker here, and that you focus on just hitting those workers. When you drop, you want to take out as many workers as possible, and that's really what's going to make this Blue Flame Hellion drop effective. So let's go over that build order one last time. It was a 10 depot, 12 racks, 13 refinery, 17 was that Orbital Command, 19 supply, the factory, 21 was the second refinery, 25 supply as soon as the factory finished, putting the tech lab on there. As soon as the tech lab finishes, start your first Hellion, get your Blue Flame, the Infernal Pre-Igniter research started, and then drop your Starport. We saw that scouting. You want to scout out your Protoss opponent at about 5:30 in-game time, so make sure you keep an eye on that in-game clock. Check for the expansion. If you don't see that, Neander on up. If you don't see any sentries, be worried about a Zealot Stalker strong early game gateway push. Dropping a bunker, doing secondary scouting or additional scouting with the SCV, looking for proxy pylons and looking for that army, and then obviously repair that bunker, focus on the economy. There you go. I've talked about a whole lot of stuff. Hopefully I did not ramble on too much, and hopefully you guys learned something from this video. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy the content, please subscribe. Thanks again, guys. Keep watching and keep owning.